This is a gadget made by Brett McDonald up in Alaska, and he does sell these if anybody's interested. I have the information. It's a cool toy, especially for the hammer. You can use it. It's a plate-loaded thing. We can add any adjustable weights. You do have to lock it down tight to keep it in place. You can add anything, even swings. If you don't have a kettlebell, you can load it up. Different handles on there. He's got a nice handle that comes with it for weight for distance and that too. Even weight over bar. Put in a round handle on there. It works good all around. You can put a lot of weight on there if you get creative with it too. So for our winds, I want you to practice this first, because this is going to give us simple feedback on where if we're trying to push the weight or get out of position, it's going to give us kind of that kink. It's going to slow, you're going to be able to see it slow down too. Kind of just light, get that thing going. See how it naturally just picks up speed too. Those were the first one. You can see I went really slow, and that's kind of going to happen too. It's gonna die out where especially the stiffer handles and stuff, like one of those hammers that have the really thick gauge PVC. That's deceiving too, because you can cheat with those a lot, and you're not getting that feedback. So I want everybody to take this one's a little bit lighter, and this one's a little bit heavier too. So take some winds with those. I'll kind of take turns. Or and actually that whippy handle works. That's kind of the next grade up, and a lot of time I'll throw that. You can throw these, and it's kind of interesting, especially on your release. If you're early on your release, you'll feel that really whip through first. Boom. I've only thrown the wire hammer a few times, but it really keeps you honest that way too. And I'm sure the wire hammer's got to transfer that way too. Question?
Stop moving.
It seemed like you were really exaggerating the slow down at this point here and let the hammer come around for you.
On the first, yeah.
A lot of people I've seen, including myself, really try to get to here and then whip it around
real
quick so they can pull down.
Yeah, that's worth talking about too. I don't know what that is or why people do that necessarily. It feels fast, and that's common with any event really too. It feels fast, like the weights for distance. You can get way out of position and counter and pull yourself away, and like boom, that's fast for this long. Excuse me. But then as soon as you get going again, you're out of position. You're gonna have to reset, and the implement's gonna slow down. So I mean, that wasn't the greatest example of my first wind of the day, but you still get an idea. You want to be patient over the top and long, guide that thing. You want to keep, if you can, especially on the last one, you want to keep trying to accelerate. We'll talk about that later. But you don't have any centrifugal force going into that too. You can shoot this part too, maybe. Somebody want to be an example for me?
I'm in the camera.
I'm gonna have to move it a little bit.
Jesus Christ.
Come on, Charlie.
Stop moving.
Okay. So what we're gonna use, this is a good just demonstration of proper tension on the hammer too. Just gonna use it kind of more in this position. We could actually play around with this, especially if you got a partner. You can play around in the gym. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. Proper tension. So I want you to sit back. We're gonna play kind of a tug of war. If he
sit back?
Yeah, if he pulls too hard on this, and there's not enough tension, say your first wind, there's no tension on it, he's gonna fall back, or he's gonna pull that hammer right out of orbit. Boom. That's no good. But if he lets me pull him, well, let me pull it for a second. He lets me pull him, which you've seen people do that during their winds or on their release if they're out of position and they're not pulling hard enough or the right timing. You got to have just the right tension, so you don't want to be torquing down on this. You see how he sits back naturally, which is good too. The more tension, you're going to be more dynamic. So you don't want to just start creating this huge dynamic, whippy winds. I've seen some pretty cool videos. Even I think I do this fairly well myself. It's kind of one of my things that helps me throw hammer fairly well is being really dynamic. But I'm not thinking, oh, I'm going to get way over on the left side and just really go for it. Something that just happens naturally as the more power you're putting into it, more flexible, kind of creating that whole environment. It just comes with practice too. Trying to think about the general positions, but then that will just happen as you a product of proper training and positioning and stuff too. So just having the right tension. You can even go side. This is kind of more of a tug of war. He wants to get away from this thing. Over here, over the top, driving the knees down. forward. I think that's a good one. I like that. Even on your own, I've kind of played around with this, grabbing like a fence if you're pretty flexible, holding on in a static position, or even taking a ball or something just to kind of mimic that, get the body ready, especially maybe early in the season. This would be a great time just to hold that. Try that as a core exercise. That gets ridiculously hard. Go back as far as you can. And stay neutral too. You can practice driving the hips forward, stay neutral with
Breathe.
your back.
Breathe.
Yeah.
He's down.
Even though you're only, that's just a momentary thing coming through there, just getting your body familiar with that position is only a good thing too. You can't go wrong. And that's a, it's a built-in stretch. It's a dynamic or static stretch. And I've even played around with doing this stuff in between throws. It's like if you can feel a position momentarily, or I've done it with stones especially too, pushing my hip through, just kind of started playing around with hammer. And then this is definitely a more advanced kind of thing once you've got a good feel for it, kind of feeling that momentary positioning, especially like on the side too. If you do this tug of war, have him hold isometrically while he's breathing too. That's the key thing, is breathing. If you're doing this, we've all seen it, we've all done it. If you're doing this, everything else wants to tighten up because everything's got to be open and loose. All your positions as long as you can. Again, that's also going to come with more winds. You're going to be more familiar with that implement and how it's orbiting, positioning, everything. It's going to build into more complete throws for sure. Obviously more distance is what we want to. Okay, we'll go back.